Hey, how you doing? I hope everybody's good out there. Hey, I just recently opened my latest electricity power bill, and holy shit, it was almost $700, and it's never been this high. Last year, it wasn't near this high. Year before, it was even lower, and it's been warm here. It's been really mild where we're at, and thank God didn't have the weather they had out in the Midwest where it was like sub-zero temperatures, or my bill would probably be $1,000. But my electric bill didn't used to be a big factor 5 years ago. You didn't think much of it really. You just kind of paid it. But now it's gone up so much. I decided to kind of just do a little bit of research and figure out how some of these power companies and stuff work. Because usually when you feel like you're getting gouged in life for something that has substantially jumped up for, no good reason for sure, in my opinion, follow the money. And you're usually going to find there's some behavior along the line where someone is profiting off it. And guess what I found? Anyway, I mean, they're justifying the raise, in the rate increases in, update, maintenance on the grid. Most of the equipment lines are 25 plus years old. They need some attention. And I get that. That makes sense. I'm not sure why they've been neglected all these years, but, they're saying that that's where the money's going. Okay, fine. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there. And of course, the data centers that are being created all over the country. Now, those are sold to us by a lot of people as being, good for us in the long run, a net positive. They're going to bring value to all of our lives. So, okay, I guess that's how you're selling this thing, right? So, I don't know. Are you buying that? Are you really buying that? Because I'm sure as hell not. So let's just, when I started to look into this, let's peel a few layers off the onion, because that's all bullshit. Even if they're upgrading the grid and the lines and the data centers and all this, it's going to make our life better? Really? They're putting these data centers in to make our lives better? I don't believe that. It's for what? The robots, right? For AI. And the robots are what are they going to do? Take people's jobs. So we're paying for these data centers to build fucking robots to take our jobs. That's the reality of it. I don't know how you can spin that. So that makes no sense to me at all. And the rate of increase that these have went up, I'm probably like a lot of people that have been around. I'm an old guy, but I bought my house in the early 90s. My mortgage payment was under $600. It was between $500 and $600. I don't even remember. But my power bill back then was around $50-$60. It wasn't a major home expense. It just wasn't that big a deal. It was about 10% of what I was paying on my mortgage, right? So not a huge factor. Well, we know how fast housing has gone up, today. And homes now, to have a mortgage, if you can get a house, a lot of people can't get a house when they're freaking 50 years old, but because they've went up so much. But mortgages now are what, $2,000-$3,000, $2,500? It's a lot of money because it's risen so fast, and wages and stuff haven't kept up. Well, let's compare that relative to power bills, okay? Because like I just said, my power bill used to be about 10% of my mortgage. Well, if a mortgage is $2,000, $2,500, and you're paying $700-$800, it's about 30%. So it's went up 20%. It's about 30% what you're paying on your mortgage. That's a big deal. That can be a deal breaker in being able to keep up. It's really went up. And, the whole data center thing, the power it takes to run one of those, I'm hearing that same power could run 100,000 homes. That's how power starved they are. So these things take a ton of power. And, it gets even worse if all the pollution, the water, the nitrates in that, the problems that's causing and probably again in the future going to cause more of, that's a whole nother discussion. But it gets even worse. It's data centers aside, just the nature of the business. 72% of power companies that are, supplying power to most metropolitan areas and beyond are private for-profit companies with CEOs, shareholders. They're in it to make money. Now, that might sound okay, but the problem is it's not the Wild West on that. You can't have 10 different power companies in one city trying to run lines and just be a logistical nightmare. So what they've chosen to do is just choose, by and large, one power supplier, and it's not the same everywhere. It varies a little bit, but by and large, they'll pick one company, for-profit company, and they'll work with them. And there's laws that say that these for-profit companies can raise their profits 9 or 10% every year. Okay, so what that means is they're encouraged to build out. They have a financial incentive to build as much as they can. So they like these data centers going in, right? Because they can charge 9 or 10% profit. Who's paying that? Yeah, we are. You are. We're paying that in our monthly bills. It's plain and simple. And you might think if the data centers are going in, you know, you'd look at it different. You'd think with it, you know, they're going to be paying huge amounts of money. Here's the kicker: they don't operate like we do. The data centers are different than individual customers. You'd think that they would be, you know, paying such huge bills that it would keep our bills under control because now they're a customer. But here's the kicker: they're able to go in and negotiate the tech companies, the power, the data stations. They're able to go in and negotiate a price per kilowatt hour with the power companies. That's something we can't do. And since they do that, you know, there's a huge difference. So if we're getting power for, say, for example, 18 to 20 cents a kilowatt hour, they can go behind closed doors and negotiate a deal where they're getting it for like 5 or 8 cents. And that's great. It's a deal they make, and that incentivizes the data centers to go ahead and build out. They're going to get a killer smoking deal on their power. And the difference is, so here's the difference. If say the power company is supplying power for 10 cents an hour, okay? They're charging you 20 cents. They're charging them 8 cents. That spread in there, we pay that. They pass that on to us. Because if they're selling it to the data centers for 8 cents and their costs are 10 cents, they're losing 2 cents on that. They pass that on to us. They're not going to take a loss. The power companies aren't. And building out, and by the way, as they build out, like I said, they're charging 9 to 10% profit every year. By law, they're allowed to do that. Co-ops, other power companies that aren't for profit don't do that. They don't pay CEOs. So it makes a lot more financial sense. And there was, matter of fact, in 2025, there was a Harvard study that discovered that they're doing these backdoor deals between the tech giants and the power companies to negotiate these power rates. It's not right. They operate completely different than an individual. You know, it's not fair. It's like we're not playing by the same set of rules. So, you know, in conclusion, yeah, be pissed at the costs they're passed on to us for upgrades and, you know, the data centers. But I think be more pissed off at the greed and misinformation we hear about how these things work. I mean, maybe, just maybe, this should be more socialized. Maybe power should be a social need and not privatized, you know? Why does everything have to be just a tool to make another CEO rich and richer? So, I don't know. Looking down this one, to me, man, you know, like most things that are for profit, if they're halfway monopolized at all, it doesn't work. And at some point, guys, we got to get back to a more fair system and get the money out of these guys' hands. Anyway, I'll let you go with that. But thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. It's freaking crazy. And I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great one.